Hello, welcome to my channel. I am Maricita Colours in English. Today I will make in knitting these beautiful flowers, flores o rosas en español. I make here with 3 different sizes. I use for make these flowers the acrylic, that is the alternative of the wool, but you can make with cotton, with all the yarns that you prefer. And I have here my needle number 3 millimeters. I will need the scissors and a big needle for sew our flower and the yarn that you want to use for make your flowers. The flower rose has 40 stitches, the yellow 30 and the green has 20 stitches. Stitches, puntos en español. Okay, welcome to my channel. I am Maricita Colours in English. Empezamos. We begin. For calculate the yarn, you can see my headband Ventura here in my channel, and I show you how you must to calculate the yarn. I will make 30 stitches. 30 puntos en español. Here I let a little yarn for make the 30 stitches. I make this, the yarn between my 2 fingers and the needle in the center of the yarn. And I catch from the left to the right and this yarn in the needle. Left, right, and in the needle. Left, right, and in the needle. This is my technique for make the stitches in the needle. Esta es mi técnica. My Peruvian técnica. So, I must make 30 stitches, 30 puntos. Here I will count, voy a contar, contar, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 30 stitches, 30 puntos. Here I will make the base of my rose. Here I make 1 and 2 canit stitches, that you catch the stitch from the left to the right, and the purl stitch is from the right to the left. I must to make 2 canit stitches, 2 purl stitches. This is a rib stitch, punto elástico en español. I only must to repeat the 2 canit stitches and the 2 purl stitches in all the row. Now, almost I finish the row, and here I make the canit stitch. You can make the stitches that you prefer. Here I pull a little the yarn for my work is uniform. And here I finish in 2 canit stitches. We turn the knitting work, and I will make only the same. I will make the stitches that I find. Here I find 2 purl stitches because in the knitting always is the opposite. In the front is in the front is 2 canit, and in the reverse, this is the reverse, is 2 purl stitches. The first stitch I always pass to the needle of the right. Always from here in every stitch, the first stitch I always pass to the needle of the right. And here I only repeat the 2 canit stitches and the 2 purl stitches. Canit, punto derecho, and purl, punto revés. Stitch, punto. I will continue Here I make the last two purl stitch. I pull a little the yarn, and look, this is the rib stitch. Punto elástico en español. One tip, when you see the yarn of the beginning in the right side, this is the front of my work. You can see like the purl stitch, and in the reverse it's like lines. In the beginning of our thread, I say. And here I pass always the first stitch, I pass to the right needle, and here I make increases. I make like a canit stitch, look, I bring the yarn here, and I let a little space, a little loose over thread, and again with the needle I enter in the same stitch of the left, and I make again one canit stitch. This is one increases. What is increases? We make two stitches in one stitch. This is increases, aumentos en español. And again, I make a canit stitch, the yarn in the needle, and here I have the yarn, the new stitch, and again I catch the stitch of the left and I make again one canit stitch, and I make again two stitches in one, again like one canit stitch, punto derecho, we make the yarn in the needle, over the needle. This yarn is in the needle of the right, look, I let a little loose over work, and again without let the stitch of the left, I enter inside of this stitch from the back, and again I make the yarn, and this is the second stitch in one. This is increases, aumentos en español. Again, I must make in all this row the same. Only the first and the last stitch I don't make increases. So one canit, and I enter in the same stitch of the left, and I make the increases. Now I make the last increase, and here in the last stitch I only make the canit stitch. Here we finish this row. We turn the knitting work, and I will make only purl stitch. The first stitch we pass to the right needle, only we pass, and in every stitch that I find I will make the purl stitch, punto revés en español. It's from right to the left, the purl stitch, from right to the left, and we make the yarn in the middle. Punto revés en español. And only we must to make in all this row, solo debemos tejer en esta hilera one purl stitch. I will continue, and we find us when I finish this row. Hilera, row en español. Now I almost finish. Here I make the last purl stitch, and always pull a little the yarn for that my work or my thread is uniforme, parejo en español. And look, I made two rows with the rib, and after this I made the two rows of the canit stitch. And now I will make yarn over the needle. The first I pass always to the right needle, and I make the canit stitch, one canit stitch, and here I will make one lazada. It's like a lace. Look, the yarn over my needle, and after this I let the yarn in this place and I make here the canit stitch, one and two canit stitches. Again, yarn over my needle and I make two canit stitches. This lace or lazada in español will give move to our flower, to our rose. In Spanish, we say rosa, flor to the flower. So every two stitches we make the lace or lazada and we make the two canit stitches. Here almost I finish, I make the last lace and I make the two canit stitches, the last two, los últimos dos puntos derechos, and ready. We pull a little and here we are in the reverse. The first stitch always to the right needle, only we pass to the right needle like purl stitch. And again in all this we make purl stitch, but the lace we let, look, we let free. Again we make the two purl stitches, dos puntos revés, and we find the lace and we let free. This will give move to our work, to our flower. Here I find the lace or lazada and I let free. And again I make the two purl stitches. So we only must to repeat this in all this row. Solamente debemos repetir en toda la hilera. Row, hilera en español. Needle, agujas. Knitting, agujas, dos agujas, palitos or palillos. So, if you want, you can make your flower with 40, 50, 60 stitches. Depends of the size that you want. So, here the lace I let free, and this make move to our thread. And again the two purl stitches, puntos revés. Rib stitch, punto elástico en español. This is the last row. In the next row I will close our flower. So now almost I am in the end of our row and I make the two last purl stitches and pull a little the yarn and ready. Now only I will close my thread. Here I will tell you how many stitches I have. I have 58 stitches and I have 2 centimeters from wide and from long, almost 20 centimeters, casi 20 centímetros. But all depends, the thread depends of the yarn and the needle that you use. If you see that your work is a little loose and you want more tight, you can use a teeny needle. And when you see that your thread is a little tight, you can use a needle, teeny or thick needle. Okay, I will close. The first I will pass, I make a canit stitch. Look. And the first stitch will pass over the second and the second will stay in the needle. Again, one canit stitch, the first over the second and the second will stay in the needle. Like this, I close all my threads. All the threads I close like this. The first over the second, and the second will stay in the middle. Don't make so tight. Try to let a little loose over work over thread for close. So I will close all the stitches. Voy a cerrar, close, cerrar todos los puntos, stitches, puntos en español. I invite you to subscribe here in my channel, Maricita Colours in English. I have crochet patterns and knitting patterns, and every week I will make new videos. You can find me too in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. And I have my channel in Spanish, Maricita Colours, and you can see and you can write me which video you want that I make the translation. Little to little, I try to make all the translation of my videos that I have in Spanish. Okay, now almost I finish off close over thread, look, the first over the second, and in this stitch I will make a little beak because inside I will make the yarn. Cut the yarn, and this yarn will be inside of this last stitch. We pass and we push always the last stitch for that our work is uniform. And we finish. Now I will show you how you can sew the flower. We will close little to little like you prefer. You must give the shape like a rose. I have a flower like this in crochet. It's flower Rosita, and you can find here in my channel in English. So I will use now the big needle, aguja punta Roma, aguja needle. This is the front of my work because the yarn of the thread is in the right part. And I will start to close little to little, and now I only will sew in the part of down of our flower. And little to little I start to close and to pass the yarn or the needle. And you must give the shape of one flower only. Shape, forma en español, forma. And little to little I give the shape of one rose. We say too in Spanish, botón, like a button, the flower. And here I will pass the yarn inside. I'll throw all the flower a través de toda la flor, front in front, for that our flower don't open. So again, I pass front in front, side to side, without tie so much your sew, please. Sew, coser en español. Yarn, hilo. And little to little, we try to sew all our rows or flower. You can give the shape that you prefer to your flower. And here only you must to try to lose the yarn inside of the flower. Here in my channel, Maricita Colours in English, you can find a tutorial for sew the yarns. Here I have my another flowers and ready. You have now all the technique for make this beautiful flower. Okay, I hope that you like and we see us in my next tutorial. Muchas gracias y chao chao.